Okay, so today we're going to be going over the insane volume in the Korean National University weightlifting training program. Good Lord, that was a mouthful. This was inspired by two things. Firstly, I got a comment on my last video from Jill Bates Loves You, asking if I'd seen it. And secondly, a relatively new series by Django of We Lift Weights. I believe it's got 4 videos, and 3 Japanese athletes went over to Shinsung University for a training camp. So this video series is excellent. There's a lot of big lifts, a lot of nice technique. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend going and watching it. But one of the things it really highlighted was the insane amount of volume. There's a couple of shots of the whiteboard, and it's like 10 to 15 sets of Olympic movements, 10 sets of squats, and it got me thinking. We've seen people like Lee Sang, the absolute monster out of South Korea, performing insane volume, insane intensities, and it made me think, maybe it isn't just him being, going out on his own, going a bit crazy, and it's just the way he's always trained. So after doing some digging, I managed to find a document that is the Korea National Sport University Training Program. Now, I will link this down below. I think they have 3 different phases of 1-month examples. I am just going to go through the off-season one because we can compare it to some of the footage from the We Lift Weights thing. If we translate the thing at the top, it comes out to winter off-season phase 1. So the first thing to highlight is how many sessions they have. So it's looking like 3 a day, basically most days. Other interesting things is a lot of upper body training, a lot of running training, stretching and sauna on off days, and apparently 12 sets is just the standard. So what can we learn from on this spreadsheet? Well, firstly, they have 6 days a week. Their first session in the morning, 7 a.m., they have stretching, abs, and back training. This is something we saw in the video, and it's a sort of concept that we see from quite a lot of teams. So the Americans, when they trained in the OTC, had something called morning warming. They would go in, they'd do jumps, core, stretching, lighter movements to get going, and I've heard quite a few American athletes talk about that. The Kazakhs will go out for a walk all together and do some stretching also. I've seen it from the Polish national team. So it's not uncommon, and it makes sense, Heart rate comes up a bit, you loosen up, you bring up the body temperature, but it's not super taxing. Abs and back training, they seem to push it pretty hard in the video, but it's not that taxing. The second thing we can take from this, which is really odd, is how much running there is. They have running 6 days a week, 5 by 400 meters. Obviously a form of conditioning, not something you typically see from weightlifters, but I suppose they're keeping them athletic. Then you have upper body training, which again, they seem to do with absurd frequency. On this week here, they have it 4 times, a lot of upper body training. If we go down further, we can also see an example of the upper body training. So they have behind the neck press, 10 sets, of course, 7 reps, and toe hand curl. Not sure what that one means, but over here as well, we have bent over rowing. Everyone knows what that is. 10 sets of 7 reps. And then finally, or not quite finally, is just the 12 sets. So you can see on day 1, they have back squat press, which is like a back rack thruster, 12 sets of 5, back squat, 12 sets of 5, hang snatch, 12 sets of 4, and then they come back in the PM, they've got 12 sets of hang snatch again, they've got 12 sets of snatch deadlift, and they've also got 12 snatch of high clean, which is like a power clean, and a push press off the high box. So this is an absurd amount of volume, but again, it's not unheard of. The Romanians who do a lot of squats, Gabriel Sincrane, talked about doing sort of 6 to 8 working sets of 2 to 5 reps on his squats, and they were doing that 4 to 5 days a week, and we're sort of seeing a similar thing here. And then similarly with the snatches, someone like Ilya Ilin was doing an absurd amount of snatches. Gabriel Sincrane was saying he was sometimes doing as many as 15 sets of snatches. So it's up there, not unheard of. They're ultimately doing it for the skill development of those movements. Now, why they're doing quite so much strength training, I'll be honest, is beyond me. Another thing we can pick up on here is how they seem to be styling their GPP training. So something we've seen in videos, but also here, is they seem to really like the back rack thruster and the front rack thruster as the first movement of the day, sort of warming up, but maybe also as a GPP weightlifting exercise. You obviously get the squatting motion and the squatting strength, as well as some pressing strength, but you also get the coordination aspect, the speed aspect, that sort of thing. So it could be quite a valuable tool. You see similar things in how much variation they have here. So hang snatches, high box cleans, push presses, that sort of thing. Although surprisingly, they don't seem to have anything like snatch balance or snatch push press. But there we go. Now in the final part of the day, which is in the yellow text, translates to personal reinforcement training. And it says it's at nighttime. Now, I am going to assume that this is some form of psychological work, or like working on your mentality, your mindset, all of that thing, because especially when you're taking training this seriously, it is unbelievable. I mean, for anyone, but when you're taking it this seriously, it makes sense that they might have actual sessions scheduled in to work on developing stronger mindsets, all that sorts of things. Now, an important thing to note is they do not do this all year. That's a lot of volume. If we go further down, we can see Korea National Sport University off-season strength and power period, 3 weeks. And here they are only doing 2 sessions a day. So they've kept in their stretching and abs sessions, but they only have 1 session that is at 3 p.m. But it is even bigger than before. But it does also say here that they have subject of study, so I assume this is while they're in school. Maybe they're not in school normally in the winter. I don't entirely know how it works. But you do see further down that there is apparently plenty of the year where they're only doing 1 session plus their abs and back and sort of running training first thing in the morning. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss on this. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I definitely recommend checking out the video series by Janko. If you want to check out this spreadsheet for yourself, I will make a link to my blog post that talks all about it and links all the resources. That will be in the description.